way, this is actually the dominant way to code. And if you're not doing it, like, you might just be left behind. This is just here to stay. And,
Here to stay.
vibe coding is not a fad. It's time to accelerate.
Yes,
So
let's
with
step
that,
on the
we'll see you guys
gas, B.
for the next
Let's
light
step
code.
on the gas, Gary. Let's step on the gas, dude. Vibe coding is the future. I saw the Y Combinator squad put this video out, and I need to watch it because, we've been vibe coding for a long time now. Right when ChatGPT dropped, I had just learned how to code probably 2 years prior. And it went from Stack Overflow to ChatGPT, and I'm so happy I haven't been back to Stack Overflow since. Why would I? And then somebody introduced me to the pinky button, the vibe button, and I've been using Cursor, dude. I have this AI agent flow right here automating my core work, which is researching and back testing. I'm in quant, so this is the process I follow. RBI, it's about keeping you safe in quant. All of the hard work happens in the research and backtest phase, and you only implement things that actually work in the past into the future. So this research and backtest phase takes up 95% of my time. So I built an agent flow here, and I'm using DeepSeek Reasoner and DeepSeek Chat on both sides. I was using local models earlier today, but anyways, I've been vibing out building all of this AI stuff. So to see the Y Combinator squad put a video out, I have to watch it. I have to watch it because I've been getting dragged for so long for using AI to code, and now people are capitulating, and it's awesome to see. It's clearly the way, right? It just codes faster than you type. Let's go ahead and see what.
And if you're not doing it, like, you might just be left behind.
You might just be left behind. I love it. Thank you, Gary. Thank you. I'm biased. I had to tell you my bias, dude. I love to see everybody using AI to code after how much direct feedback I have gotten over the years of how big of an idiot I am for using AI to code.
To another episode of The Light Cone. I'm Gary. This is Jared, Harj, and Diana, and we're partners at Y Combinator. Collectively, we've funded companies worth hundreds of billions of dollars right when it was just an idea and a few people. So today we're talking about vibe coding, which is from a Andre Karpathy post that went viral recently. There's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give in to the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget that the code even exists.
Yeah, so we surveyed the founders in the current YC batch to get their take on vibe coding, and we essentially asked them a bunch of questions. We asked them, what tools are you using, how's your workflow,
and who are these people? They run this you probably know YC. It's like a startup incubator out in California of the United States of America, and yeah, they pretty much, there's like a ton of great companies that came out of YC. You can Google it and learn more, but they see what's being built in the trenches, and I'm super excited to hear this.
Those change, and sort of generally, where do you think the future of software engineering is going, and how will the role of software engineer change as we get into a world of vibe coding? And we got some pretty interesting responses. Anyone have any favorite
quotes? A world of vibe coding. I love it.
I think one of them that I can read verbatim is, I think the role of software engineer will transition to product engineer. Human taste is now more important than ever as code gen tools make everyone a 10x engineer. That's from the founder of Outlet.
I got one. Abi from Astra said, I don't write code much. I just think and review. This is like a super technical founder whose last company was also a DevTools company. He's extremely able to code. And so it's fascinating to have people like that.
From Mixtral, dude. That was the founder of an LLM company. He just thinks and reviews. Other person said you're going to become a 10x engineer, dude. I went from 0.2x engineer to at least a 2x engineer. So that's a 10x engineer to me, dude. ChatGPT, thank you for getting me out of the trenches. Thank you for getting me out of Stack Overflow. I'm so grateful. I never have to go back there.
From a different RB from Copycat, who said I am far less attached to my code now, so my decisions on whether we decide to scrap or refactor code are less biased. Since I can code 3 times as fast, it's easy for me to scrap and rewrite if I need to.
And then I guess the really cool thing about
that's huge. That's huge because sometimes you're going down a route. here in AI land or even coding land in general, right? You're coding something for days, weeks, years, whatever, and you're like, damn, I can't change now. I can't change this whole framework. I can't flip it and reverse it. I can't go this way instead of that way because you're too attached to it. The cost is too high, sunk cost, dude. And you're in. But you've seen me flip so many times, different languages if needed. Oh, the speed's not fast enough on Python. Let's go ahead and learn Rust real quick. Let me read the book. Let me learn the basics. Okay. But you can start coding right away. That's crazy. In any language. Any language. I stick to Python though. And I don't like leaving Python. To be real with you, I just Python all day. And AI is so good at it. I'm sure it's great at every other language too. JavaScript. Whatever's the oldest language, probably the best at. So what JS is probably older than Python? I don't know though. I'm only on my 4th year.
Actually parallelizes really well. So Yoav from
And they're just like, boom, AI.
60, he says, I write everything with cursor. Sometimes I even have 2 windows of cursor open in parallel, and I prompt them on 2 different features. Which makes sense. Why not 3?
Wild.
You could do a lot, actually.
And I think another one that's great is from the founder of Train Loop. He mentions how coding has changed 6 to 1 month ago. 10x speed up 1 month ago to now is 100x speed up, exponential acceleration.
And he says, I'm no longer an engineer. I'm a product person.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I
Product
think
person.
that might be something that's happening broadly. It really ends up being 2 different roles. It actually maps to how engineers sort of self-assign today, in that either you're, front end or back end, and then back end ends up being about actually infrastructure, and then front end is so much more actually being a PM. You're sort of almost being like an ethnographer going into the obscure, underserved parts of the pie of GDP, and you're trying to extract out, like, this is what those people in that GDP pie actually want, and then I'm going to turn that into code, and then actually evals are the most important part of that.
When I was running Triple Byte, this was actually one of the things we noticed. It was almost as important as a technical assessment of engineers when trying to figure out who's a good match for a specific company. Is there's a certain threshold of technical ability you need.
I mean, for this industry, dude, quant, that's what I love about it, is because it's all ideas. And then it's just back end implementation, testing, back testing, researching, back testing, and implementing. Just as you see it, the AI doing down here. Is this perfect? No way. No way. There's still a lot of ways to go. But now I got it running on R1 and locally. While I don't stream, I can have it pretty much free. When I'm streaming, I just realized it takes my computer down, and you've seen it throughout today if you're here live. So my bad about that. But I figured out the solution was just to change it to the non-local models for now. So it'll cost a little bit more, but DeepSeek's so chill.
But beyond that, it was, do you actually want to talk to users or not? Like, some engineers are actually just a lot more motivated by working on things where they know who the users are and they get to like communicate with them and they get live feedback and they can iterate, and essentially being a product engineer. And other engineers really don't want to do that at all. Like, they find it annoying having to deal with users and they want to just like work on like hard technical problems and refactor
That's a
code.
back-end engineer.
Yeah, that's what we call a back-end engineer. Yeah, sure. And that's certainly a theme that came up in these survey responses, right? This idea of sort of the LLMs are maybe going to push people to choose, because the actual writing of the code may become less important. It's about, do you have taste and you want to solve product problems, or are you an architect and you want to solve systems problems?
Oh, and interestingly, I guess one thing the survey did indicate is that this stuff is terrible at debugging.
Yeah.
And so the humans have to do the debugging still. They have to figure out, well, what is the code actually doing?
I wouldn't say it's terrible. I wouldn't say it's terrible at debugging. You sometimes got to like massage it, I'd say. Massage it, be like, hey, we've been at this for a while. How about we try something new here? Or like, let's scrap this entirely. I wouldn't say it's terrible. I wouldn't be able to build anything if it was terrible, because I'm not that good at debugging. Unless you're saying that debugging is kind of, maybe he's saying that debugging is thinking about how to approach it. Because yes, we do get in the debugging loop sometimes. And
no, it's what's called machine learning.
I don't know.
So you
I don't think
find
it's terrible
things that are predictive. You might guess, oh, such and such should be predictive, might be predictive, and you test it out in the computer, and maybe it isn't, maybe it isn't. You test it out on long-term historical data and price data and other things, and then you add to the system this if it works, and if it doesn't, you throw it out. So there aren't elaborate equations, at least not for
here's a bug. Where's, spot the bug. Where's the code path that, we have some, logic error, just didn't figure this out, right? There doesn't seem to be a way to just tell it debug. You were saying that you have to be very explicit, like as if giving instructions to a first-time software engineer.
I have to really spoon feed it the instructions to get it to debug stuff, or you can kind of embrace the vibes. I'd say Andre Karpathy style is just like ignore the bug and just like re-roll, just like tell it to try again from scratch.
Yeah.
Like it's wild how your coding style changes.
Re-roll.
When actually writing the code becomes 1,000x cheaper. Like as a human, you would never just like blow away something that you'd worked on for a long time and rewrite it from scratch because you had a bug. You'd always fix the bug. But like for the LLM, if it can just like rewrite 1,000 lines of code in like 6 seconds, like, why not?
That's kind of like writing, taking the approach of, how people use Midjourney or Playground when you're trying to generate images. Like if there are artifacts or things that I don't like, sometimes I don't even change the prompt. I just click re-roll, and I do that 5 times, and sometimes it just works. I'm just like, oh, I can use that now.
Yeah.
Which is a very different frame of building systems, because you're not building foundationally step by step. You're really doing it from scratch, because fundamentally what's going on is like all these tools today are coming from the world of generated code that are in this latent space hidden somewhere, and you have to do it from scratch to find like a different gradient and not get stuck. And then you want to like add a bit of randomness, get it to regenerate. But I do think maybe, I don't know, whatever next generation of O5, maybe we'll get to the point that actually is able to build upon. I mean, as of right now, I think most of it is you need to re-roll and rewrite, but it doesn't build upon it yet. But we haven't seen any of the coding tools right now work well with reasoning. I think we have.
Well, O3 is infinitely better at debugging than 3.5 Sonnet. So like it definitely feels like we're headed in the direction where this may not be true in 6 months.
That's alpha. O3 is infinitely better. I did not know that. I was unaware. I'm sitting here with Cursor not knowing that O3 is infinitely. Infinite's a lot, dude. Infinite is a lot. O3 mini. I wonder if he's talking O3 Pro or mini. Probably O3 Pro. Problem is with ChatGPT, you can't get your code in there. Oh, but you could just you can build tools. Just ask AI to build you a tool that says put all of this code base into one txt file, and then output it. Dude, you don't even need libraries anymore. Just me being able to tell you that, I'm sure you already know, but yo, just build a script that puts this whole code base in one file, so I can copy and paste it into ChatGPT or Claude, whatever. Then you got your whole code base and O3 Pro connected to it. Unless you want to be a big baller and spend like $2 a spin over here. I don't even have it on my thing. I'm not even gonna let myself get on tilt and just start using O3 Pros. It's only $2. It's only $2. I can see it now.
So next time we do this episode, Diana, do you want to talk about like the models that people are using and the IDEs that the people are using? There's some really interesting trends there.
Yeah, I think as we mentioned a couple episodes ago, we already saw this in the shift started happening. The vibe started to shift back in summer 24 when Cursor was being used by a big portion of the batch. And now by far is the leader. But the other thing that's happening, this is a very fast and moving environment. Windsurf is a fast follower. It's starting to be a very good product as opposed to Cursor. And I think, Jared, you have some first experience with why Windsurf is like better than
I'm
Cursor.
excited about this.
I think the number one reason that people are switching is that Cursor today largely needs to be told what files to look at in your code base. So if you have a large code base, you can tell what to do, but you have to tell it like where to look in the code base. Windsurf indexes your whole code base and is pretty good at figuring out what files to look at on its own. There's other differences too, but I think that's the most important.
And that's huge because that's annoying. I agree. Okay. You know what I did though the other day? I brought my credits down a little bit. And I was at 2,000 earlier, and I brought it down to 1,000 because I think it's time. It's starting to seem like, okay, at first everybody was in the chat saying windsurf, try it out. But sometimes too early. You guys get it so early, and I love you spam me with the windsurf for months, but it's still here, and it sounds like it's getting better and better. So I took my credits down to 1,000, and at this point, I'm gonna jump on windsurf for the rest of the month. That's my tentative plan. I'm excited to hear more because the indexing is obviously the problem. Having to tag every single time.
Important one at the moment.
Notable.
But that's also just a update. Just change it, Cursor. I'll stay right here. We'll all stay right here. I know they're both like VSC forks or whatever. So the switch isn't probably that hard, which is, I don't know. I'd rather just kick it and stay here. I heard it's cheaper over there as well.
Devin does get mentioned, but the drawback of Devin not really being used for serious features is that it doesn't really understand the code base. It's being used mostly for small features and barely mentioned. The other one, people still use ChatGPT, and the reason they use it is because they want to actually use the reasoning models. So it does get posted. People post some of the debugging questions to figure out use the more powerful models for reasoning. Because right now, Cursor, Windsurf are still in the old world. I mean, old world less than 6 months ago of pre-reasoning models, not in the test time compute. So founders are using that. And there's some founders, some of them are self-hosted as well, self-hosting models, because maybe they have more critical, sensitive IP. They do that. And now talking about the shifts in terms of models, the thing about CodeGen, the big game in town that we saw 6 months ago was Claude Sonnet 3.5. It's still actually a big contender. Most are still using it, but O1, O1 Pro, and O3 Meaning, all these reasoning models are starting to see, it's almost like getting neck to neck now close with Sonnet 3.5. The other one is 4.0, virtually no use for CodeGen. And the other interesting thing is DeepSeek R1 is getting mentioned. Is Spin use is like a viable contender as well. And Gemini, not really mentioned.
The one thing I've heard from Gemini is because it has like the longest context window, I've heard from a couple of founders that they do use it. And the way that they use it is they put their entire code base into the Gemini context window, and they just like tell it to like fix a bug. And it doesn't always work, but like sometimes it can just like one shot fix stuff because it's the whole thing in the context window.
It will be interesting to see as people get more adoption on the newly released reasoning models with Flashback 2.0. I don't think people have tried it yet, but the long context window plus reasoning could be a good contender.
Yeah, dude, that's the play. So I built this here. Cursor, if we go to million agent here, this is, you can just throw your txt file here in the, if you go to the folders here, it's still making backtests as we speak, by the way. As we speak. If you go to the million agent, I could throw my whole code base right in here, boom, and then just ask it whatever. Fire, dude. Fire in the chat. I love this game. You can build anything.
What is the estimated code that's being written by LLMs in the current Badger?
All of it.
This is pretty crazy. So we explicitly asked this question.
All of
what
it.
percent of your code base do you estimate is AI generated? The way I interpret the question is like, like of the actual characters in your code base, not including any libraries that you imported, like what percentage of like the characters were like typed by human hands versus like emitted by an LLM? And the crazy thing is 1/4 of the founders said that more than 95% of their code base was AI generated.
Wow.
Which is like an insane statistic. And it's not like we funded a bunch of non-technical founders. Like every one of these people is like highly technical, completely capable of building their own product from scratch. A year ago, they would have built their own product from scratch, but now 95% of it is built by an AI.
Except for, maybe it sounds like we have one or two examples of
That's
people
true.
who they're so young that they learned to code in the last 2 years. So they actually don't know a world where Cursor didn't exist.
Yeah, this is one of my best companies, Dispatch, actually is exactly this. The founders are extremely technical minds, but they're not classically trained in computer science and programming. And they are incredibly productive and able to produce just a ton of like really amazing product. And AI is writing almost the entire thing.
It kind of makes me think a lot of the discourse around sort of Gen Zs are the first digital native that grew up with the internet. This is like the generation that grew up with native AI coding tools that they skip the classical training of a software engineer and they just do it with the vibe. But they are actually very technical minded. I mean, they have degrees in math and physics.
Yeah.
So they have that raw, let's call it more like system thinking type of mind that you still need. Maybe we should talk a bit about that. It's like what's still the same and what has changed.
I think this vibe coding will enable people who have those kinds of technical minds, who come from other technical disciplines like math and physics, to become highly productive as programmers much faster than it was in the past. Like I remember there were like coding boot camps. Like back in the day, they would try to like.
But not only math and physics, dog. Not only math and physics. Come on, B. Come on. Anybody can do this. Anybody can learn how to code. I wasn't math nor physics. So don't let him cap to you. I know he didn't mean anything by it, but it's just like, relax, dude. Relax. We can all vibe out. That's the great thing about vibe coding is we can just all vibe out together. You bring your ideas. Technical mind, also don't worry about that, dude. If you can build, if you could build a tree house, dude, you were building tree house or whatever. I never built a tree house, but like a tree fort, you grab a branch, maybe 5-6 branches, put a little fort up or something. I don't know if you could do that. If you made like jumps for your bike or something,
instead of be
You're a
happy
builder,
about.
dude.
You're up 2-0.
Then you could vibe
Job's
out.
not finished.
Oh,
Job finished? No, I don't think so.
I think technical mind is a little intimidating, dude. You're an artist. If you're an artist, dude, if you're an artist and you can think of ideas, if you're an idea guy, stop it. We can all vibe out. You don't have to go to school for this. You don't have to be a Stanford dude. I swear. I swear. I know. Whatever, dude. I swear. You could build anything. I just know it. If one other person can do something, you can do it too. So I wasn't a math or a physics guy, and I'm vibing out. I'm vibing, bro. I'm vibing.
Retrain physics people into programmers, and then like it didn't work that well because it just takes too long to learn all of the syntax and all of the libraries and all the stuff that you have to know to be really productive. But like now it's a new world.
The coding bootcamps are also very specifically focused on getting you hired at companies. And I think it was during this around like 2015 era where just companies themselves were rethinking how to evaluate software engineers in their hiring processes. And it was moving, there was a real shift away from like, we want to hire classically trained computer scientists, whiteboard algorithmic problems, towards we actually want people who are just really productive and write code quickly. And some of these arguments are like evergreen eternal, right? Like I remember when Rails first came out, there was just like a real sense of, oh, like, I don't know, like active record as a way to like interact with your database was seen as a great abstraction, but like there was still the same flavor of argument, right? Like, oh no, like if you don't really understand the internals, like you're just going to write like crappy low performant web software.
How do you feel those arguments have aged if you look back on it now?
My feeling is that many of the most successful companies, I would say Stripe, Gusto are just two that really spring to my mind as ones that really heavily leaned into the actually, we just want people who are really productive with the tools, and we're going to change our whole hiring process to just select for people who are good at, like, the interview shifted from teach us how you think to you've got 3 hours on a laptop and you need to build a to-do list app and build it as quickly as you can. And those companies have had a tremendous amount of success. It does seem like at some point as they grew and they scaled, then the bottleneck did actually become having people who are classically trained and systems thinkers to sort of scale up and architect things.
It does seem like how people are hiring engineers is changing, but maybe not changing fast enough yet. The results of the survey are relatively surprising to the four of us here. They're probably pretty shocking out there. Even it's just like this thing that popped up in our backyard only in the last 6 to 9 months. My guess would be engineering hiring period has not actually caught up to this.
It's been here for 2 years, though, is the thing. It's been here for 2 years. No, even longer. When was ChatGPT released? People are saying that it hasn't been able to code. It's made jumps, yada yada. But no, dude, it's just overfitted to the tests that are out there. It's made such leaps and bounds. No, dude. At the end of the day, ChatGPT came out like 2-3 years ago, and it was fire. 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 4 hours a day, 4 to 6 hours a day, every day. I was using it every single day. It was fire. It was way better than me at coding, probably way better than 90% of coders. Maybe it's better than 99% now, but most of us aren't in the 99%. Straight up, it's a 99%. It's okay, 1% of coders in the world, it wasn't better than for the last 3 years. Come on, it's been fire. It's been fire, fire, fire. Everyone was fading it. Come on. You know that. ChatGPT was fire when it dropped. Let's go watch my old videos. Let's go watch those early videos and see how fire it was. I mean, for where I was at coding, damn, 2 years in. So I don't know. I know it's more integrated now. I think that's why it's going more viral. But I love it. I love this. I love this so much. That we can just use AI to code. And it's so nice. It's so nice to have the validation of like, yeah, this is the right way to go. Because if all of the YC companies are all vibing out, it's like, okay, I'm not just effing around. And a lot of people get in my ear about effing around like, oh, it's all AI generated code. Yeah, it should be. It should be. It's crazy. Okay, good. Because these guys are goats. These guys are goats, dude. These guys are goats. They funded all the companies that you can think about. Think about all the YC companies. Top 100 YC companies by funding. Airbnb. Okay, these guys are goats. So if all of the companies that they're funding are using AI, please just come say I'm sorry, Moondev. Just say it someday. Just if you watch, just say I'm sorry. I need one person at least to say I'm sorry. Cause y'all have me tripping. Like, is this not the way? Cause I'm new to coding. But it sounds like it is the way. So I'm going to just keep stepping on the gas. Wow, I love you guys. Thank you. 777. Thank you for those that threw the 777 for this 2, 3, 4 years, however long we've been here. I love you guys so, so much. That is so beautiful. 777 to you. Airbnb, Cruise, Instacart, DoorDash, Dropbox, Stripe, Rappi, Zenefits, Coinbase, Reddit, Gusto, GitLab. If all of their companies are using AI to code and they fund these companies, this is the way. This is the way, dude. There's no question about it now. There's no question about it. There's no question about it, dude. That's crazy. Damn.
Doing that kind of thing as opposed to what can you get done. And so it sounds like the Stripes of the world, they were ahead of the game, and everyone has to hire engineers this way now.
I mean, I wonder if actually even that's going to be sort of the old meta. Like, I mean, something that stood out from the survey responses was this idea of two themes we talked about, right? Like one is, okay, we're all just product people now. Like actually the thing that you need is really great taste and understand what to build. And the second was of actually now what's really valuable is to be like a systems thinker and an architect and to really sort of understand the bigger picture. In which case, actually like maybe being a really productive coder, because that's definitely something that always fit my definition of when you're talking about who are great engineers, you know, and like one of the dimensions are they're just really like they can write code really fast.
Yes.
Like maybe that's outdated. Like maybe that's not, if the LLMs are actually really good at writing code quickly.
Right.
And to your point, like now it's actually just cheaper to like re-roll and just like write everything from scratch.
Re-roll.
Like the skills might just be completely different.
Problem is, there's like two different stages. There's 0 to 1, in which case speed is the only thing that matters. And then to your point about active record and Rails, that battle was actually fought to a standstill because, of course, using active record or Rails allowed you to go from 0 to 1 very quickly. But then what happened to Twitter? It became the fail whale, right?
Yeah.
Like basically, once you get to 1, like one, that architecture will not get you to a billion or 10 billion or $100 billion in valuation or users or whatever. Like it's just not going to actually work. So I think you're going to see the same thing. And then there's nuance in what you just said, right? Like getting 0 to 1 quickly and then being able to scale to a billion users are two totally different sets. And then I think that might be irreplaceable for now around people. And one of the things I discovered as we were scaling one of the biggest Rails sites, I mean, you scaled one of the biggest Rails sites too, is that there aren't that many people who have to do it. Getting to 1 is so rare.
Yeah, that's true.
That did you reach this point where how you got to 0 to 1 very quickly was like you used lots and lots of open source, and then at some point, like maybe 2 years into this, maybe a year and a half into the startup, even we could not use random gems anymore.
Gems anymore because they were just never designed for companies at our scale,
like,
and so we had to like
it and it fall
build our
over.
own stuff.
It would just fall over, right?
That's very good examples of what you're saying, Gary. I think maybe to summarize a bit more, 0 to 1 will be great for vibe coding where founders can ship features very quickly. But once they hit product market fit, they're still going to have a lot of really hardcore systems engineering where you need to get from the 1 to N and you need to hire very different kinds of people. And to that, I think there's a very good historical example, like Facebook as well. I mean, they got
PHP.
they got away with PHP, which personally is a terrible language.
Yeah.
Maybe I get flamed, but I think it's a bad language.
I'm with you. I never liked it. Sorry, guys.
It was very bad, but you could ship things very quickly. But at some point, it became such a big bottleneck for them to ship features that they had to hire the hardcore system people to build a custom compiler hip hop.
Yeah. But that's super chill because you're already successful. So like, don't let that scare you, dude. Get the MVP out there. You can have this hardcore system hiring Bojangle when they give you cash, you know? When you raise money from YC, let them pay for your scary, too hard, okay, I have this excuse, that excuse, whatever. Don't let them scare you, dude. Don't let them be too smart for you. Come on, you got this, bro. If you got the idea, if you're an idea guy, you can vibe code now, dude. And you can ship. I promise you, I just did it. I just did it for 4 years. Let's go, bro. Every day, just lock in a piece by piece. You have an idea, go test it out. Code it up, launch it. Have the turnaround be a week or less. Boom. It's 1 week. You got 52 of them in a year. You got 52 shots in the chamber. Come on. One idea per week, dude. Apply that to anything. You find something that works, okay? I found my niche. And I'm testing multiple strategies per week. You can see my agents running down here. Again, this still has a ways to go, but it's fun. It's fun, dude. I didn't learn how to code till I was 30, bro. Scared because it's scary. Oh, you'll still need to hire these deep system experts. Yeah, but you'll have $1 million in the bank. At least. if you're at that scale. I don't know. That's just my opinion, and I might be incorrect.
Yeah.
That it would run fast on bare metal because it's just too expensive to replace all the code.
Yeah.
And that kind of people that did that are not the type of people.
Why they acting like they working? Why they acting like they working? They don't even put the work in.
Bless you, dude.
Or systems people that, based on our survey, current tools are not good at that low-level systems engineering.
Harj, I'm not sure everybody who's listening knows what TripleByte is, but it's actually very relevant. Do you want to just describe for everybody what?
Yeah, TripleByte was the company I started in 2015, and we were essentially building a technical assessment for engineers. Like our goal was, how can you use software to automate evaluating software engineers? And the way we did it was pre all these code gen models, which is we built all of our own custom software to interview engineers, have humans interview engineers, and then essentially just like label the data like in
and interview them by like asking them to write code. These are highly technical interviews.
Yeah, it was a high tech. Yes, like it was asking them to write code. We did actually include algorithmic problems.
And is it true that you and your co-founders have done more technical interviews than any other people on the planet?
I think so. Like in terms of just like pure hours, because that was just like the early days of it were like all day, every day, just
like thousands, people. Yes. Thousands and thousands of them, right?
And then we scaled up and we had like a team of about like 100 engineers contracted just that we would pay per interview completed.
And so you're exactly the right person to ask this question. You've literally spent more time thinking about this than anyone else on the planet. If you were starting TripleByte again today and you had to design like new technical assessments for engineers, what would you have them do?
The big takeaway I had with TripleByte and the screen in particular is just people want different things. And so you kind of need to know upfront like what exactly it is that you're evaluating for, and then design your technical screen around that. It's kind of what I'm getting at with where Stripe and Gusto and these companies just knew that they didn't care if someone had fundamental CS knowledge. So it didn't make sense to screen them on that. Like they wanted to screen for the thing they were actually going to do in their job. And then our product was more trying to screen for everything, trying to get a taste of everything companies might want, and then
okay, these guys have hired more people. They've done more interviews than anybody in the world, and they're saying AI is the way.
Figure out what someone's max skill was, and then send the people with the max skill to the companies that would value that max skill. And in today's world, I think I would actually have a screen that at least accounted for just how well people knew how to use these tools. Like, and so again, it's maybe contradicting what I'm saying earlier, but it might be the case of maybe how quickly you can code and you can build product is actually something to explicitly screen on, just set the bar much higher.
You probably have to ask different questions, because I'll bet if you go back to the original TripleByte assessment, I'll bet a lot of those questions you could literally just copy and paste the question into ChatGPT and it would spit out a perfect answer. Yeah, in which case you're not really proving that much competence if you're just copying. Like the questions probably have to be like 100 times harder.
I mean, this gets to the deeper stuff, right? Not necessarily, because if you have someone else, it depends on like what conditions you're going to put on the screen, which I think is interesting. So I know, classic question was like build tic-tac-toe. Yes, of course, if you do that unsupervised and you just let someone like come back with a tic-tac-toe solution, that's going to take like 2 seconds, right? If you want to watch them code it and force them to not use an LLM,
I guess that's a question. Do you force them to code it without an LLM? Like the old questions, or do you let them use an LLM and now you need new questions because the old ones became trivial?
That I think is what everyone hiring software engineers right now should be thinking about and trying to figure out. Yeah, I'm not sure I know what the correct answer is to that. Yeah,
interesting. I think that's going to be probably you're going to test for different things, because I also did a lot of engineering hiring. I think one key skill that's going to, I think, remain, that's constant. I do think skills of reading code and debugging are maxim. It's like you have to have the taste and enough training to know that the LLM is spitting bad stuff or good stuff. So like bad code or good. And I think you can see it clearly sometimes if a candidate is using the tools and there's actually a reasonable solution that the LLM outputs, and then the candidate's like, oh, this is actually bad. That is a sign. So I think knowing kind of more the high level thinking to know what is good versus bad. In order to do good vibe coding, you still need to have the taste and you still need that kind of classical, maybe not necessarily classical train, but enough knowledge to judge what's good versus bad. And you only become good with enough practice. I think that will be one that will be constant. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just code, it's like more like code review as the interview versus like actually like producing code.
Yeah, I mean, you could have some form of system design. You want to know how good they can put a product out there. So then it's testing for taste. So we're going to test for debugging and then taste. But then how do you get to, I guess this is a question, going to these kids that you have that we call it AI coding natives.
Yeah.
How do you develop taste when you don't come from a classically trained world? Which would be interesting for next generation.
Well, you have to, because if you don't, the startup dies, right? So let's say this founder, they go off, they have 95% written by AI. The proof is in a year out, 2 years out, they have 100 million users on that thing. Does it fall over or not? And then one of the things that's pretty clear is these systems, in the first realm, the first versions of reasoning models, they're not that good at debugging. So you actually would need to descend down into the depths of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And if you can't, then I mean, let's hope that they can
like
go
stuck,
find
right?
another architect who,
Yeah.
they're going to have to hire someone who can.
I think there's going to be a generation of software engineers that are like good enough because it's so easy to retool there with all these code gen tools. Like the barrier to entry is so low. You're going to be good enough engineers. There's going to be tons of those. But to be exceptional, like the top 1%, I think you're going to need to get into deliberate practice. I mean, the analogy we're talking about is Malcolm Gladwell popularized this concept of 10,000 hours of practice to become an expert, which came from this research from, what was his name?
Anders Ericsson.
Anderson Ericsson, right? Which it wasn't just the research was very specific. It was about how do you find world-class violinists? And it wasn't about just putting the time, but deliberate practice. It's like hours that are actually planned and thought, and it's hard work. You could become an expert with less hours. So I think what's happening with now CodeGen tools is that it's very cheap to put in the hours because the output is just so quickly. You can get to good enough. But to become the best in the world and the best founder, you're going to need that deliberate practice to go into the details. And you're going to have to peel the onion and understand the systems and get to, again, to some extent, being classically trained. I mean, a good example is, maybe we go back to history, is like Picasso, one of the greatest painters. He was amazing at drawing lifelike pictures.
Which is not what he's famous for. Of course, when you imagine a Picasso, you imagine the opposite of that.
Yeah.
There's this famous sequence of drawings on how he got to a abstract bull. It starts from being lifelike to iterations until he gets to the essence, to kind of the abstract art that he's very well known for.
But he could only get to be the best in the world because he was actually a very good painter and classically trained and could draw super well. But that's not what he's known for. So I do think we'll see these two classes of engineers. You'll still have like a very fat class of like good enough. You need engineers for those. But the best in the world, the founders that become outliers, are going to need to put in the deliberate practice.
Yes and no. I mean, I think
Yes and absolutely no. Yes and absolutely no. I'm sorry. Good points there about having to like get into the weeds and to be the best in the world as an engineer. But the best engineers in the world are not the ones that are changing the world. Always. It's like, no, I'm sorry. You just need to be good enough at coding. At coding specifically and engineering whatever you're about to build, dude, whatever you're building, you just need to be good enough. We got AI to be the best in the world. You got to be great in other aspects of your life in order to be a great founder. To be a great founder, we talking about founders here. We're not talking about engineers. We're not talking about We're not talking about Swees. No, we're talking about founders. You got to be good at way more. You know that. That was biased towards engineer. She must be an engineer. Smart. Must be an engineer.
there are lots of really amazing examples of great systems level and world-class engineers who ended up being CEO and CEO of the biggest public companies in the world. I think of Max Levchin. I think of Toby Lutke from Shopify. I mean, these are people who just like actually that great. And the thing is, there are lots of other people who are not that great, but also still CEO or co-founders of companies. And then it kind of goes back to link up what we were saying earlier. It goes back to hiring.
I mean, I keep thinking about the Twitter analogy that you brought up, because I think it's a really interesting one. Like, if you compare Facebook and Twitter, in both cases, they went very quickly from 0 to 1 in sort of a scrappy, move fast, break things way. Facebook was able to solve the scaling technical challenges in a pretty impressive way. I think most people would agree.
I mean, Mark Zuckerberg was by far way more technical and way more in the weeds, probably.
Maybe, but I don't know. Like,
I think Twitter scalability challenges were also harder based on the usage patterns. Like, the thing about the usage of Facebook is that it grows, it's pretty smooth throughout the day. Like, people just use it.
Yeah, and who knows? I don't know if Mark is just like a super, super sick engineer. I knew he knew how to build a website back in the day. Like, okay, build a website that, you know, probably uses a database. Okay. And get it on the internet. He was early to that. But it was the idea and his tenacity and his perseverance. He's persistent, dude. He's a data dog, committed to the game. Ambitious AF, you know that. Just like you, dude. So what's the difference between you and Mark Zuckerberg? I don't know. I don't know where he's from. I don't know where you're from. We can all just vibe out now. We can all build. I believe code's the great equalizer. And now we have AI to code for us. And now it's been validated. This is actually a really big day. Just seeing these guys, like the top of tech. They're the top of tech, dude. To have them validate vibe coding and AI is the future. I don't know. I'm watching this with a huge bias, so I'm going to have to rewatch this. I'm assuming that they're like, oh yeah, this is fire, you got to do it. But they haven't said that yet. They just said everybody's doing it, everybody in their companies. So I don't know. This is just a good day. Good day. Good video. Thanks for hosting us.
All the time. The problem with Twitter is that the usage is incredibly spiky. You get like a Super Bowl or like a, you know, like a world event, and all of a sudden you have like 10 times as much usage. The way the fan out of the feed works is, I think, like fundamentally a very difficult computer science problem.
Okay, that's fair.
Though I also think that they were like really
Don't
hamstrung
run
by
like
their
a
tools.
pack.
Do you remember
If
using this
everyone is trying
terrible
to solve
queue
the same
system called
problem,
Starling?
a whole group of people. If that's the latest and greatest thing to do, don't do that. Do something original. Don't follow the pack.
Unless the pack is all vibe coding, then you absolutely should start vibe coding.
Absolutely.
I used it because I thought, oh, Twitter's so much bigger than us. They're so smart. They wouldn't use something that's crap. No, they totally use crap. And then I use crap and I couldn't make it work. And it was like, it was dropping jobs on the floor. Like, it's just like all these crazy bugs happened. And then I was like, finally, I was like, I'm not using that anymore. I have to switch to RabbitMQ or whatever the heck the actually correct thing to use was.
Yeah. And like Ruby is an incredibly slow language, even like 10x slower than PHP, which was already too slow.
So I don't know. I mean, basically, you should be so lucky to get to one.
Yeah. Is there an advantage for a technical founder to be classically trained and be a really deep systems thinker?
Well, I mean, a Toby or a Max Levchin is not going to get bullshitted by people. I'll tell you
from Stripe is the same.
I mean, I'll tell you a crazy story. When I was at Palantir, you know, I sort of burnt out there after a couple of years after I designed the logo. And then I actually, between that and going to start my YC startup, I spent 6 months as a interaction designer. And it was this like terrible venture-backed company that ended up going in the ground, and it was like credit card software. It was the worst. I spent 6 months building like basically just interaction designs, which was really fun. That's what allowed me to work on my startup in my spare time because I had a lot of spare time. But I remember designing you know, this faceted search thing for like rental cars or something like that. And I go into my meeting with my dev manager and engineers who were going to implement it, and they were like, oh yeah, it can't be done. We can't do it that way. Oh, like, and I was like, what are you talking about? Just make the indexes like this. And they were like, whoa, what do you mean? Like, and then they looked up my resume.
Hear that from the interaction designer.
Yeah.